All right, it's Soul Lounge Primetime. DJ LeRoy, what's going on?
Hey, NightWatchman, how you been, buddy?
I'm great, feeling good in the neighborhood.
Well, yes, after what started out as a pretty precarious week, I think, you know what, I'm seeing the light. What do you think?
Seeing the light.
Okay.
So let's bring on our esteemed panelists, and you want to do the introductions?
Yes, one of them is, you know what, we can't really necessarily do a show when we're talking about a political narrative or just sometimes just good old times without bringing this guy. And this is the OG who you and him shared a dorm at Dartmouth, Glenn Gilliam. Bring him out.
We never did that. We never did that. That's fake news. I thought we were done with fake news, but here you come, riding down the lane with some information that's totally not fact checked. You're getting fact checked live. Live fact check.
Happened.
As a matter of fact, we got two more fact checkers in the waiting room waiting to come in and fact check you, DJ LeRoy, so you better be on your game for the rest of the show.
Okay, here it goes. Well,
good to see you, brothers. Fantastic day, fantastic weekend.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, the next brother is a brother who actually did go to one of the prestigious colleges in the country, and that, of course, being SIPA, the School of International and Public Affairs at Columbia University, where, would you believe that this guy, I'm going to say that he had maybe a real green thumb in terms of horticulture, but he'll tell you all about that stuff. And this is Mr. Damian Fagon. Come on out here, Damian.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
My dog just came up, needed some treats. I'm good.
Okay.
All right. And last but not least, literally somebody who talked me and my wife off the ledge on Wednesday morning, because after the election night, I was in the doldrums, let's say.
A little state of depression, yeah.
Yes, man, slight. But he basically sent me a couple of articles talking about one of them saying the path to victory for Joe, and that is none other than DJ Propaganda himself. James Archer, come on out.
Political analyst James Archer in the building. What is going on?
Hey.
What is up?
No pressure.
None at all. So, gentlemen, this particular election, 2020, it's set for the soul of America.
Absolutely there's no hyperbole in that. It absolutely was.
Exactly. So please do tell whoever wants to jump in first, tell us thoughts about the outcome.
Well, let me just say from the start, it's still not as important as who will play T'Challa in next Black Panther. But that being said, for another show, I mean, I had for Kamala's speech, of course. I just, what she represents is you just can't underplay it. I mean, or you can't overplay it, I should say. Excuse me. It's so shocking on so many levels that she'll be taking the baton at some point.
Okay. That's the hope, right? That's the
hope. I mean, to me, when he was going through the process of vetting, I'm like, well, who is going to be able to take that over the finish line next time?
Who's going to be the next president after that?
Right.
Fully agreed.
And I was, like I say, I was rooting originally for Elizabeth Warren to be the president. But that being said, from Joe's standpoint, I was actually, are the Black female candidates going to be able to do that? And I came to it a little late, but they're all super qualified. They were all really of excellent integrity and intelligence. Of course, everything's an upgrade over the nonsense we've been dealing with. But, Kamala was the perfect pitch. I mean, she was just the perfect selection. And they've been knocking it out of the park. Super elated, unbelievable day over this past weekend when they announced on Saturday. So it was great. It was great. They've just got once again, the Democrats have to do all the heavy lifting after Republicans, fuck shit. Excuse me. I mean, screw things around. screw things up.
Rearrange the furniture.
Right. Well, yeah. Throw it out, break it up, and then bring it back in.
We can't bring
to destroy Democratic.
They've got so much work to do. if they don't win these upcoming battles in Georgia for the Senate seats, almost nothing will get done except by executive order, and we'll be having those fights again. It's just going to be another, I don't have any faith in McConnell or the rest of the Republicans if they retain the Senate. It's going to be a knife fight. I mean, sadly. Okay. Sorry.
Propaganda. What are you saying?
Well, two things. So I am an admitted Twitter addict. So, I see all the spectrum of opinions and feedback to this. And a lot of people, are not happy that Biden was elected. Lefties, like progressives, some progressives were not happy that Biden was elected. And some people think that he will not accomplish much if he doesn't have a Democratic Senate. And so my response is twofold. And one is, I am jubilant that Biden was elected. Yet, yes, he was not my first choice. He was not even my second choice. He was definitely my last choice. But he is so far removed from a proto-fascist that Donald Trump tried to be. He is a white supremacist who is a buffoon who has really driven our country into the dark ages, it feels like. And what a breath of fresh air. Even if he isn't my ideal candidate, he is someone who I think will at least we'll be able to have a discourse with him. He's not going to be this person to shut down any sort of dissent. And also, he can accomplish, I know, Glenn, you mentioned that, he's only going to be able to get done what he can do through executive order. That's a lot. Like, the fact is, even if he doesn't have a Democratic Senate, he will be able to accomplish a lot. I mean, think about the child separation policy. That's policy. That was not a law passed by the Senate. That is something that Biden can do on day one. He can undo the child separation policy at the border. I mean, he can accomplish a lot, and I am overwhelmed with joy today.
Okay, Damian.
Yeah, two things over the weekend really jumped out at me about what we just saw, and obviously I'm happy. I was not a Biden fan during the primary. I didn't know Biden supporters during the primary. That's how far removed I was from Joe Biden's, possibilities against the White House. I was Warren, Sanders all the way. I wanted either of them, but as the one thing I can say that is different from what happened this year as to 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I was a Sanders diehard again. But the second the primary ended 4 years ago, I kept running my mouth after the primary. I kept, fighting with moderates, fighting with, center left people on Facebook, on Twitter, what have you. This year was different. The stakes are higher. I realized that, as soon as Joe Biden locked in the nomination, I shut up. I was just like, yep, you lost. You lost. I just didn't want to go down that road again. And I saw that kind of, unification of the Democratic Party that just was missing in 2016. There are kids dancing in the street today for a Joe Biden presidency. They don't like Joe Biden. They are happy as hell. And that says something. And, the second thing that jumped out at me today when I was watching the speeches is, who is this man, Joe Biden, who is ushering in, Black people into the White House? I was watching Kamala's speech, and I was struck by how, here comes Joe Biden again with another person of color breaking barriers, kind of that person who walks them in the room and says, don't worry, this, they're all right, they're coming in. And Joe Biden has just done this twice now with Barack Obama in 2008. He was that guy who was like the one to, assuage the fears of the white masses that, Barack Obama wasn't going to come for them in any kind of way. He was the white moderate named Joe that they could trust. Right. And here he comes again, with the same thing, ushering in a political dynamite candidate, Kamala Harris, who politically is so much savvier than him, such a better politician in general. But I have a lot of, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this guy, Joe Biden, who's able to who keeps finding himself in this situation where he is the white guy to the Black person, breaking down these barriers. And so,
well, give Obama the credit for choosing him, because he wasn't lobbying for that job.
Yeah.
Well, it was an excellent choice by Obama to choose.
Well, no question. I mean, all roads lead back to him.
Right. I'm glad Obama never chose Hillary Clinton for vice president, because I don't know if he'd have made it all 8 years.
That's true.
But yeah, I think we see a maturity in the Democratic Party in terms of people recognizing this time around we have to unify behind the candidate with no equivocation. And I think that was done. And there were a lot of attempts to try to derail Joe Biden. Of course, they went and dug up everything he ever said. And if anything he ever said within the last 40 or 50 years was questionable, it was they tried to spin it like it was something brand new. And I think Democrats had to start realizing that Republicans don't play by the Marcus of Queensberry rules. They'll eye gouging, poking, kicks in the groin that's all part of the playbook. And we needed that level of resolve for this to actually work out. And let's right now let's all give credit to Stacey Abrams.
Yes, Stacey.
Not only her resolve, but
Black girl magic. Black girl magic. You're right.
Over 800,000 people registered under her. And that 800,000 people absolutely made the difference in Georgia, which made the difference in the whole thing. So, and she sacrificed an opportunity for her to take center stage. She said, she eschewed being the VP candidate to stick to what was needed. And I think she's obviously put herself in a position where, she is a power and force in the Democratic Party, which needs it, by the way, because it wasn't all a good night for Democrats. Let's talk about that DJ propaganda. Let's talk about the whole spectrum of election results and what does that mean?
Can I just interject one thing? Because everybody has made incredible points. The only problem I had with either of the speeches, and it was Biden's, because this man who's gotten at least some engagement from the media still has not, to me, gotten the kind of response he should, or the kind of really accolades. Jim Clyburn made this whole thing happen. Forget it. If Jim Clyburn doesn't do the endorsement he does in South Carolina, it's a wrap. It's over. Nothing's happening. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the tables were run the minute he made his endorsement, and he's the only person who can accept the flowers right now. Yes, Stacey put together that powerful. All of it's undone if Joe's not the endorsed candidate by Jim Clyburn.
Yeah. Can I tell you? Can I be honest, Glenn? I cursed that man's name for like a month after he made that endorsement because that was the beginning of the end for Sanders' candidacy.
Right, that was your guy.
And Damian and I were talking about this recently. It's in 2016. In my heart of hearts, I think Bernie would have won. I think that there was a complete repudiation.
Yes.
There's a repudiation of the quote unquote the establishment. And Bernie has presented himself as an anti-establishment figure. I don't think he would have won in 2020.
Right.
I truly don't.
He definitely would. Yes, you're right.
There's been this branding of
socialism.
He would have been kryptonite.
Exactly. He would have been hindered immediately by that. And so I'm really happy that Biden won. But and now I can understand the role that Jim Clyburn played. But let me tell you that I was cursing that man's name up and down to show him up.
Well, I mean, and therein lies the situation. I mean, I just got to say, it's going to be tough for folks to stomach all this black talk about black people and their power position and what they did. But we've saved this daggone union so many damn times.
Yeah.
And this time, and Joe put his fist down about African Americans.
Yeah, he did. That was great. That was great.
Point. So we've got to hold his feet to the fire. I know Kamala's going to do what she needs to do. And, look, super elated. But I thought Joe should have mentioned Jim Clyburn by name.
Well, now I got to say, Glenn, I've been watching a lot of my MSNBC.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. And they have definitely made sure that they let folks know that South Carolina, Jim Clyburn, if he had not done what he did, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
And the sad
So
part is,
can we go back to the question I asked like 10 minutes ago?
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead.
we're straight on Jim Clyburn.
Right.
What about the Democrats? Where do they end up? It was a very close contest. The popular vote was very, very evenly split. There was no blue wave. There was some blue drizzle, maybe you could call it, but it wasn't a blue wave. So where does that leave? And the question is asked. There's been some finger pointing. It was the progressives' fault, and the progressives are saying, "You got to be kidding me! We wouldn't have gotten this far without progressives." So is the Democratic Party too progressive now, or not progressive enough?
I think it's the infighting is going to happen no matter what, but the map is not fair. The map's not fair. And so because the map's not fair, we look at unfair results and we start blaming each other. When you look at the Senate and what they actually represent population-wise, it's just offensive. It's not a democratic system of government.
Very true.
I think we end up turning on each other. So the one thing I was looking forward to with the Democratic majority is that I thought the Democrats were prepared to finally implement the things that would make it more democratic. DC statehood, Puerto Rican statehood, a voting rights bill, same-day registration, federally mandated, like change the institution so that, we overcome a lot of that undemocratic, unfair representation stuff. But, without the Senate, none of that's going to happen. DC statehood doesn't happen. Puerto Rican statehood doesn't happen. And I'm trying to be positive about it, but that chance that we just had to take back the Senate is the best chance we have for another 6 years. Like, that's the crazy thing. 2 years, 4 years from now, we're not going to have a very good chance at all to take back the Senate. We have to wait 6 years now to get rid of Mitch McConnell or whoever else is, head of.
So I see what you're saying, but Warnock and Ossoff are not 100% going to lose. Like I understand that they're going to win. They're not favored to win. They're not favored to win.
They're not going to win.
We are not going to write their epitaph already. We're not going to do that.
You think
you don't think Warnock's going to win?
No, I don't think they're going to win, but I think there's a possibility that they don't lose, I'm not going to write their epitaph and say that we're not going to win the Senate already.
So what are we seeing? More black girl magic in this or what?
Well,
because backing up for a second, because one of the statistics I think you, DJ Propaganda, told me, 1 out of 5 brohams, really? Voted for 45?
I need to see more substantiation on that. I've heard the 18% number, but I haven't heard it where that source is coming from. I think there was a lot of smoke and mirrors around before it about black men voting for Trump. I'm not saying there weren't any, but I don't know any.
I don't know any either. But
5 of us on the phone.
Well, no, we did hear a couple that were actually in the news, such as, of course, 50 Cent. We did hear about.
Yeah,
right?
but those, first of all, those are outliers. They're given far too much weight than they belong because, number one, because they're entertainers, they're being propped up like they're influencers. I don't think any of them impacted the black vote whatsoever. First of all, Lil Wayne is not. No one is going to him for political advice. It's just not doing it. It's like Dave Chappelle did a routine about Ja Rule. Like, no one wants to hear Ja Rule's political advice. It's the same thing for Lil Wayne. No one is going to him. He dismissed Black Lives Matter in an interview
I saw that.
years ago. So it's like we already know where he's coming from. So and let's also talk about the non-impact of the Kanye. Now there was.
Can we ask anything about that?
No, I don't want to talk about Kanye.
There was 60,000 people voted for Kanye, which is 0.0003% of the voting electorate voted for Kanye. And I haven't been able to see the numbers, but I'm thinking the vast majority of them were white. And I think they were young Christians from what I was seeing.
The vast majority of people at his concerts are white. So
right.
Really?
So but here's the law of unintended consequences, because we obviously know that was a sleeper plan for him to draw black votes, but I think he drew more votes from Trump than he drew from Biden.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think any conversation about Kanye is a disrespect to Joe and Kamala. Sorry.
Why is the conversation about them a disrespect to Joe and Kamala?
Because Kanye is so inconsequential to anything that's real. I mean, respect to his art craft and his clothing line and all that, but he's in need of professional help. I mean, we know he's dealing with, bipolar disorder. I mean, it's unfortunate. I know it's entertainment. I appreciate the point, Bob. It's just, man.
But as far as the breakdown, I mean, the Trump campaign thought he was the secret weapon.
Well,
no question. But these are the stupidest crooks we've ever met. I mean, the Trump administration is the stupidest crooks we've ever met. These guys do everything in plain sight. For them to think Kanye was a gate to anything, it's just indicative of who they are. I mean, that's just
one thing.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just saying, Kanye, what Cube was trying to say, I think deserves maybe some better conversation. 50 Cent did a moonwalk and tried to retract what he said. I mean, as if he really knows. But, but no, I mean, it's
this is what I want to find out. So, gentlemen, harken me back to election night Tuesday, okay? Now,
don't do it.
Yes, I got to go back. So do tell and propaganda. Please, did you or did you not? Were you in the doldrums initially when you were watching the returns? What was happening? What was going through your mind?
So I don't want to use I think the word trauma is a bit of a dramatic word to use here, but 2016 was like an emotional shock, I think, to everyone. Every person who wasn't, I don't want to say racist, but anyone who had, optimism in their mind, like 2016 was a gut shot. I remember where I was. I remember the next day. I remember just flowing through it in an absolute haze. And so when I saw 13 points, when I saw Trump ahead 13 points in Pennsylvania, I was like, oh, goddamn, this is exactly what happened last time. We got our hopes up. The pollsters are complete hucksters. They have no business, reporting anything. Even though every reputable news organization told us exactly this was going to happen, that because of the pandemic and because the massive upsurge of mail-in ballots, that we weren't going to know the actual results until days later. And yet still, I lost my goddamn mind. No, I mean, I went to bed upset, and I will give credit to Damian over here because he was.
Damian kept us cool? Are you saying that?
He was cool the entire time. I was furious, when we lost Florida, when we lost Texas, I was like, oh my God, And he was like, no.
You just said you got worried when we lost Florida and Texas. The two craziest states in America.
The polling did not just say that was going to happen, so I didn't trust any of the polling. I was like, no, if the polling was wrong there, then the polling must be wrong everywhere else, and we're about to get run again by this game show host.
So Damian, how the heck did you keep it together?
Oh man, I just kept reminding myself of the Red Mirage. Everyone was mailing in ballots. I got friends in Philly. They all mailed in ballots. They were taking the pandemic seriously. They didn't want to show up to polls. I didn't want to show up to polls. My parents didn't want to show up. A lot of people used mail. And I remember everyone was talking about how Trump wasn't telling his supporters to use the mail. I think the part that really upset me, that I got mad at it towards the end, is I was just like, yo, count faster.
Do y'all want me to count?
Yeah, give me some help. I'll come to Philly right now. Just count faster. I saw a precinct in Atlanta that looked like they had 10 grandmas. Like,
don't knock the grandmas.
I saw on Twitter what was happening with Trump supporters, where they were saying like they're stealing the election, and this
accuracy was the only thing that mattered, though.
It's true. No, that's true. But it's all by design. They intentionally made it a scenario where it looked like they weren't getting steamrolled on election night, so they could create chaos and they could, scare everyone into believing that people are actually cheating and kind of maybe even save face. Now, that's all Trump's trying to do now is save face. But yeah, no, I was confident that Biden was always going to win that thing, primarily because of mail-in ballots.
Okay, let me float something right here, because I want to get your all of y'all's take on Trump lost the election handily. He also got the
popular vote. Popular vote.
Yeah, I mean, he lost both the popular and the Electoral College vote.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, he did.
When everything is all said and done, I think Joe Biden's going to be cross 300.
Okay.
That being said, Trump got the most votes, the second most votes ever for any candidate in history.
That's true.
Trump also made gains with every demographic except for white men. What the hell is happening? I mean, y'all saw the Cuban numbers, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yes. Cuban numbers are to be expected because Cubans always vote that way. They always vote right wing, and they always come Republican. So
this election made me appreciate Dominicans a lot more. But no, you're right. Yo, Archie, you're totally right. Trump made gains. He made gains. He was arguably the worst president in generation
in the world ever. Yes,
came out and voted for him, and we need to see a therapist as a country about that because that's some crazy shit. 250,000 people died. More people came out to vote for him.
Yeah.
I guess you all don't remember the rules we started out with.
Crazy stuff.
Wild and crazy. Well,
go ahead, Glenn.
No, I was just going to say, given what Damian was talking about before, the Republicans actually pushed to make sure nobody could count ballots early. A lot of things could have been handled Tuesday night if they had been allowed to start counting things. You couldn't count votes, so now all the drama is the Red Mirage. And so now we've got to wait to see what's the back end. And we're still going to wait for provisionals and military votes and all that, but they won't be able to make up the gaps. But, these Republicans set it up for their own demise. They just, tried to do a little smoke and mirrors, and it wasn't going to work.
But Glenn, you bring up an interesting point, is that we are one country with 51 different voting laws, election laws. Like, what the heck? What the heck? The heck is that?
It makes it tougher for the Russians to crack the code.
The Russians wrote the code. What are you talking about?
We got to be honest too about it too, because New York City is also not good at elections. A city that has had democracy and voting for like 250 years is bad at it. And it's easier. We're so good at everything else. We could have a car delivered to our apartment and take us to the airport and everything else we've mastered. And the only reason I can assume is why elections are still so stupid and bad in America is because it benefits politicians that are in power and it benefits parties in power. And we really need to do some soul searching on how to make voting easier for people because this is getting ridiculous.
Well, I think we got rid of. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm just saying campaign finance reform. We have to have public financing. These guys, all they do is run for office and try to raise money, and anybody who's got a check can get an audience. I mean, it's just way too scary. Bezos has too much money. Bloomberg, the Waltons, all these guys got more money than countries, and they have way too much influence. Mike Bloomberg should have never been able to parachute in after the people of color got kicked off the stage. That was ridiculous. Bye Booker, bye Kamala, bye Julian Castro. Oh, Mike, you got a check? Oh, come on. Come on.
Has anyone had a worse year than Mike Bloomberg, though? I mean,
Bloomberg is $60 billion in the good, okay? He could care less about 500 million.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had a worse years than Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg was isolated from COVID by having his own island. So I don't think we need to cry too many tears for Mike Bloomberg and the $500 million that he dropped on a vanity campaign. Because people who have a $500 million to drop on a vanity campaign, I don't think we need to worry about them too much.
So gentlemen, now, let's also then, I guess, say post-election, post-inauguration, and good old Trumpito is escorted from the White House. What should happen?
So you're just bypassing the next 2 months of absolute.
Yeah, that's true. I am jumping ahead, but I definitely want to see his life after the White House. Is the legal system going to go after him? Or what is the scenario? Or Glenn, does he appoint Mike Pence as the president in the last remaining month, and then have him pardon him?
Well, if he can't pardon himself, which he'll try, he'll try to pardon himself from crimes that he hasn't even been, unfortunately accused of.
I think we I think we should stay focused on actually getting him out in those scenarios. While they're interesting to think about, this thing is not done until the inauguration, and so we should not. We should not.
Well, then back up. Are you saying that these frivolous lawsuits that he's already put before some of the federal judiciary, will he try to move those forward?
No.
Okay. No.
Well, but I think more important than that is, will any of these red state electors be stupid enough to disregard the vote of the people and say, I'm going to put my electoral votes in for Trump? We're going to get some fools like that, because that's what this Electoral College, that's the cluster that it is that regardless of what the people have said, these clowns can say, you know what? I don't know if those are really valid. And we got a bunch of late absentee. Heck, I'm putting my electors in for Trump, and now civil war.
I gotta say something about the emotional maturity of electors. Hillary Clinton loses her nomination. Democrats, people everywhere are devastated. They are crying. They are seeing therapists. They are dealing with it. They are talking about how sad they are. Trump people lose an election. The first thing they do is I didn't lose an election. They cheated. They're not mature people. They're not emotionally mature. They're not. Trump is just not able to.
You're on to something, Damian.
It really is true because listen, I got unfriended on Facebook from my aunt today, who's a Trump supporter. I posted,
get out of here, really?
Yeah, she's a 70-year-old woman who cannot deal with me posting anti-Trump stuff on Facebook. She had to unfriend me. I feel like this is,
but
we need to talk about it.
You can't laugh at this because there's a mass psychology problem that goes back to the original question. Why did 70+ million people vote for this? After everything that is done in the country almost in shambles, and people are still saying, I want some more of that. There's a real problem. Now, if you saw the meme of Paula White, did you see the Paula White meme where she's calling on the angels from Africa and South America to come, and she's speaking in tongues, and so
no, I didn't see that. What?
Insanity.
Where have you been? Okay. When you see this meme, you'll laugh, but you should also be scared because there are people who literally felt like Trump was ordained from God to come and save America from whatever evangelical demon that they. And when you see the passion and the fervor, it's something that we have a right to be concerned with, because that type of mass psychology is very similar to what happened in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, the dopamine hits. The dopamine hits of white supremacy and seeing yourself succeed on, in a style like that, someone who you style yourself out after, like someone like Donald Trump. That's addictive. And when it goes away, what else are you left with except for a sad life where the government, you don't have a good paying job, you can't go to college. There's all these other problems. Once that goes away, the fantasy of Trump and what he promises you goes away, what are you left with except rage, internalized insecurity, a whole mass of things. I feel like the first thing Biden could do is universal therapy. Universal therapy would save this country from itself in so many ways. Especially with white men, they just need to talk to somebody. They need to.
They need a hug.
I think he needs to bring back the drop squad and folks re-engineered. I mean, look, I'm this situation, and I've talked about this constantly with Curtis and Bob before, but corporate media will be the downfall of this country if it comes to that. Democracy will lose because corporate.
I'm nodding my head so hard.
The mere fact that Rupert Murdoch could come into this country and prop up a guy like Roger Ailes and create a whole fantasy network for white supremacy bullshit. I mean, bad stuff. Excuse me. I'm sorry. For 30 years, and give life to the Rush Limbaughs and the Mark Levins and the hate radio guys. All of that, and then you couple that with an education system, a public education system that, what, integration later, and it's been getting gutted since the 70s. I mean, you know, you've got unfortunately a double generation of uneducated folks who are being led by the nose by people like Sean Hannity.
Yep.
And sadly, they've laid all the groundwork, and none of these Republicans can run away from it. These GOP guys, this Lincoln group of folks who have finally, oh yeah, Steve Schmidt, look, smart dude, but he tried to sell us Sarah Palin. I mean, let's be serious. Yeah. These guys have been responsible for some of the most venomous nonsense. What they swift boated John Kerry on was, I mean, just inexcusable. All of it. I mean, the stuff that Bush said about McCain and his immigrant daughter, I mean, his, you know, adopted daughter. These guys are savage to each other. They know it's a zero-sum game for them. None of them get a pass as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, we've got to be real about what the foundation of this is. Why does Murdoch have the Wall Street Journal, New York Post, and Fox?
I think that's important to talk about because guess how Rupert Murdoch is.
A lot of people don't realize that. That's true.
Rupert Murdoch is 92 years old now, 90 years old. He's not doing well.
From Australia.
Yeah. So one of the things that the New York Times reported on this a month or so ago is Rupert Murdoch will be gone in the next year to 2 years. He has, you know, his will is done. It leaves a lot of board seats to his son, James, and his other daughter, who are actually liberals. They're liberal people. The face of Fox News, so the person currently running Fox News is Lachlan, which is his most conservative son. His other son, James Murdoch, had a hip hop label in the 90s and is an actual liberal. You know, liberal in the Hillary Clinton liberal, but he's a liberal. And he will inherit multiple board seats at News Corp.
Okay.
Fox News doesn't have too much time left to be what they are, and I think it's starting to become more apparent the older Rupert Murdoch gets.
I want to address something like Glenn mentioned, which is the Lincoln Project, and I would say one of the things that has been bothering me the most about this kind of election victory tour, because I've been glued to MSNBC for the last 3 days, is how they're hosting John Kasich, and how they're hosting Michael Steele, and how they're hosting Claire McCaskill, and all of these center Democrats, and then punching left and saying, well, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth, and that's they almost cost us the election. Like, people actually said that.
Wow.
And I'm worried that instead of acknowledging that it was a lot of the progressives on the ground in Georgia and Arizona, which brought us the votes to win, we're going to start kind of moving toward the middle and accepting that the Lincoln Project, which spent $67 million, and more Republicans voted for Trump this year than they did in 2016. We're going to accept these people who propped up the Bush administration as part of our team, and they are not. They're not part of our team, and they should not be respected as part of our team.
But the sad part is, I just have to say, because that's a perfect point, Fox News shamed these other networks into maligning Obama. You guys are giving this liberal elitist a pass, and we're not going to do it. We're going to hold his feet to the fire. So what does NBC do? Well, let's get Morning Joe on, because he's a conservative.
I know.
Nicole Wallace has a 2-hour show. How did she jump somebody like Joy Reid? I mean, how did she jump into a 2-hour nightly spot? This woman tried to sell us Sarah Palin and wasn't any good at it. And part of the Bush administration, and yet we sit here, wow, Nicole Wallace on MSNBC. These guys are clowns at MSNBC. They fired a bunch of, Ed Schultz got the boot. CNN's no better. They got rid of
Melissa Harris Perry, all that. Yeah.
Shout out Steve Kornacki though. Steve Kornacki could stay. I want to
shout out my man. Shout out my man Kornacki. Shout out my man who led me through the dark days.
Kornacki gang, 100%.
I'd love to know Kornacki's politics. I wonder about Kornacki.
No, but Glenn, you're bringing up a great point. And they give this, both sides equivalent BS.
False equivalency is just a nonsense.
Completely. But
it's frustrating. It really is frustrating.
Media has to be addressed, and we have to go back to whether it's a PBS or Ed Morrow inspired, strictly news. It can't be C-SPAN necessarily, but it can't be commercially funded. We get no information about the rest of the world from broadcast news. And the rest of this stuff can just be labeled as entertainment, because that's what they do.
I mean,
I'm sorry?
Right. No, exactly what you're saying. We also need to say you go beyond a corporate media focus, because this election was actually fought in social media. We have a vice president.
Too many people watch TV.
100%. I agree with you. But I feel like the power of MSNBC and Fox News is definitely Fox News, for whatever reason, is playing 5D chess. They're beating the hell out of MSNBC. But we are about to elect a vice president, Kamala Harris, who is from California, and is a Silicon Valley senator from California. She's got a lot of ties to that area. And when you start talking about what Facebook was able to do 4 years ago and what they still did this year, allowing people to lie and share misinformation. And Archer, we've talked about this where, every day you see on Facebook, the top 10 most searched things are, Dan, whatever, the guy from Fox, the
Bognino,
the blocky head dude, and then Ben Shapiro with Fox News. All this stuff is getting shared by people on Facebook, and it's their top trending stuff. And we really need to address how social media is aiding and abetting with the promotion of this kind of material, this propaganda on Fox News and other outlets.
Well, Joe and Kamala have to take the intelligence community's information for the last more than a decade that these white supremacist terrorist organizations are the biggest threat to our safety.
Security.
Been the situation for more than 15 years, and yet we still see these guys. They plot to kill and kidnap the sitting governor and some police, and they get escorted into the police station while unarmed black men are getting shot in the back. I mean, these guys are walking around with long rifles, and no one is pushing up on them.
Yeah, and they're mad now too. They're mad. They're more mad now than they ever were this year. They're the maddest they've ever been right now.
I mean, if those have been long rifle brothers in the Michigan State building screaming and spitting into the faces of state troopers, come on, man. That would have been OK Corral. That would be crazy. I mean, acknowledging the double standard, okay, everybody will just like, okay, that is what it is. No, we have to call it out. I mean, the likes of corporate media and this, like you say, the false equivalency nonsense that's been going on forever, trying to say, that's what Trump was trying to put. Both sides. There are good people on both sides. No.
Well, tell me this. Okay, so we did hear Uncle Joe speak about thanking black folk for the support, for pushing him over the top and whatnot.
Did you just call him Uncle Joe?
I did call him Uncle Joe.
You did call him Uncle Joe.
I did.
4 years of this, I don't know if I can do it.
But I will say, will he be able to have an honest discussion about race and systemic racism? Will he be able to do that during this term? Especially if
when
they
you
don't
say
get the Senate.
Discussion with who? I mean,
national discussion is what you're saying.
Let's say with both houses of Congress.
Well, we know he's not. Relative to what happens with the Senate, it looks like the Senate is going to be as obstructionist as they've been. If Mitch McConnell is still there, we can expect more of the same. The House needs to get its house together, because the House is still divided between progressives and moderates, and not recognizing the power that the progressives have brought, especially in bringing in the young vote, which is the future of the party. The squad all won handily, no risk at all, and they're going to be around for a while. AOC is still probably amongst the younger Democratic the most famous person in the game. She's the one with the most influence in the game. And why the Democrats don't like, if you got somebody who can hit 400 and clear the bases, you put them in the lineup. You don't put them batting ninth. And that strategy doesn't seem to have seeped in.
They don't get it. They do not get it.
Yeah.
Well, look, all I'm saying is 70 million people voted for Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is just. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Damian.
Well, I mean, that's just the thing. It's like I saw someone on Twitter the other day was mentioning that, like, you know, a lot of black people don't think Obama did anything for the black community. That's one of their criticisms of the black community, of the Obama administration. How many black people, you know, I'm including myself in this, were on their parents' health insurance until they were 26? There's a lot of things actually do. It didn't mention black people specifically, but you know, there was benefit that it wasn't advertised as like for black Americans. And I feel like there's something to be said about, you know, policies, and this is something that Bernie Sanders, you know, wing hints at, is that there's a lot of policies you can do that will disproportionately help the black community without making it, you know, without touching that white supremacist nerve, without like tickling their little thing. It's like, what am I getting? And you know, I feel like we really need to focus on that, because and that's not to dismiss Black Lives Matter. That's to say Black Lives Matter. Yeah. It's not going to win us a Senate seat in Iowa that we need. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to win us a Senate seat.
But it may get us the 2 Senate seats we need in Georgia, though, and that's where it's at right.
I agree with you, but that's the thing. It's like I feel like we just need to allow for a little bit more racism in our party. I feel like that's
no, we just got to wait for everybody to move from the Northeast to Arizona and South Carolina. And once we change the demographic, we'll get these votes.
I feel like we'll be waiting on America to not be racist for another 100 years. And at a certain point,
that won't work.
Climate change is happening now. You know what I'm talking about? Like, people don't have healthcare now. Like, this shit is these things are happening right now. And
I just got to say something. I'm sorry. The defund the police nonsense that they've been trying to say that's, you know, the progressives, they're going to blow things up. I'm so tired. Everybody on any that's anchoring any news show knows exactly what defund the police means, but nobody wants to explain it or even give it the life it deserves, because they just want to keep promoting that nonsense like it's some way out, far out. We're going to get rid of police. No, can I say something? Reappropriation priorities as far as budgets are concerned.
So can I say something? Then I fully agree with you. And we, as the progressive wing, need to do something better with our nomenclature.
Absolutely, yes, what he said.
Socialism are two things that are not like they sound.
Bob agrees with you.
Yeah, you know, like if we were not called democratic socialists, if we were called the progressive wing of the party, we would get double the votes, because people hear socialism and they start foaming from the goddamn mouth. Same with defund the police. Like, people, simple ass people who don't need to do any background research, think that defund the police means you will have no police officers and no society. And that's not what it actually is. You know, so we need to do better with some nomenclature.
But it's like there's a fundamental play that the GOP and the right likes to do, and that's it's tag and brand. They come up with a tag and stick it on you, and if you let them keep that tag on you, then you have to fight the tag instead of fighting the policy. And so, so nobody should have ever stuck with the defund the police. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're simply talking about taking away their money. You know, I mean, you don't go with their you can't go with their branding. You know, and the whole socialist thing. Most Americans don't have no idea what socialism even is. And the other thing is, look at the flip they did, where you've got a president who consorts with the Russian. You know, Russians used to be the red. They used to be the communist socialists, and somehow Russia now is good, but socialism is bad. And so, you know, so what is socialism? Socialism is when marginalized people actually benefit from the policy as opposed to somebody else. Because farm subsidies are socialism. Yeah, we don't hear that. That's true. You know, the corporate we don't even corporate welfare. We could talk about for another. We could do two more shows on that.
Let's do that.
But the problem with Democrats have not been good with that whole tag and blame game.
No, they're bad at it. Mitch McConnell, during coronavirus, when New York City, you know, the financial capital of this country is suffering and the businesses are being closed down, Mitch McConnell's saying he doesn't want a New York bailout.
Exactly.
New York pays more taxes than they receive, and Kentucky lives on welfare. And
lives off of it.
We lose that fight every time for some reason when it's the easiest argument to make. I saw Cuomo trying to make it a little bit in public, but I can't imagine a scenario where they ever have the right to tell us what we can and can't take out of the federal government. It just shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be losing that battle. I totally agree with you. It's a brand.
I mean, if you think about it, this is all old. These guys met with Frank Luntz the night of Obama's inauguration to say, we're not having any of it. The state of the world is an economic, S-hole, and our country is going to blank in a basket. People are losing their 401ks. There's unemployment on the rise. And these guys said, you know what? We're going to mess up his administration. We're not going to give him anything. We're going to try to make him a one-term president. They don't care about anybody. I mean, nobody in Kentucky is living large.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't. And yet, no Medicare for you, no affordable care, nothing. And please keep voting me in. I don't even know how these guys, to me, it's all based on race, but that's how I see things. So unfortunately, as long as I can say as a poor white guy that black and brown people are still beneath me, I'm good with whatever you're selling. And I'm sorry, that's how I view it at this point. Because it's just unbelievable that they could vote out of their own self-interest so many times with these clowns who never do anything for them. These guys can't be sitting there in West Virginia saying, boy, if we just get another Supreme Court justice that's inexperienced and is reactionary, I mean,
all the cold jobs come back.
Here's the thing, Glenn. If you go ask anybody on the street what their city council member has done for them, what their voting record is. Ask them about their state electeds, what they've done for them, what their voting record is. Ask them about their Congress member. What no one knows. It's not that they're voting these people in who don't.
They don't. For sure.
They don't know them, so they see these ads. They're like, "Oh, Mitch McConnell. Oh, Mitch McConnell must have done something good because these ads say he's done something good." I would say 1 out of 10 people does any background research to look at Mitch McConnell's voting record. So, it's not an issue of them actively voting people in who are not working for them, but it's not they don't know any better.
Well, I mean, look, and I don't think they're doing the research, but that's the thing. It's become so tribal. I mean, it's just, I don't need to know his record. If he's on this team, I'm down with it. I mean, Lindsey Graham is worthless. There's no honor there at all. This guy would take supposedly his best friend, a prisoner of war hero, and just toss him under the bus and then back over him. I mean, to hang out with Trump on a golf course? I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah, let's pull a lever for Lindsey Graham.
I mean, Jamie Harrison got his ass kicked. Is that? Can we say that word?
Yeah, yes, you can.
He got his ass.
What was the difference? What was the difference?
Massive. I mean, I'll look at it right now. He had more money than any other candidate in Senate history, and he lost 54 to 44%. Like,
oh my!
And that's straight racism. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe one other thing that South Carolina is known for, other than racism.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I want to say that I lived in South Carolina for 6 months.
That's right. That's right.
I lived in Marion, South Carolina, so it's near Florence, South Carolina. It's like 2 hours west of Myrtle Beach. A black county, very black county, because South Carolina is very, very black.
That's where my mom's side of the family's from. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the reason they don't have, I mean, the county I was in, they had a state senator who was Democratic, but they had a congressman who represented them from the Tea Party. It is also one of the most gerrymandered places on earth.
Wow.
They have divided up the black community in South Carolina so that they just represent a small margin of every white congressman's district. It is a tragic situation down there. And the one thing I'll say about South Carolina is that I never understood what it was they were fighting for. They kept talking about manufacturing jobs, right? Everyone talks about manufacturing jobs in these places in Ohio. And
non-union.
Non-union manufacturing jobs. These are the worst jobs you would ever want to do. I had people working with me in South Carolina who came from manufacturing jobs. And they were getting paid. They were happy to be getting a paycheck or whatever. We're talking 10 hours a day on your feet, just putting one piece into one piece. And these are non-union jobs. Again, you're being paid $8 an hour. Do this work. This is miserable work. And I feel like what they're fighting for is something that not even the people I was working with, they didn't want to go back to those jobs. They wanted service jobs. They wanted the jobs we have in New York. They wanted office jobs. They want that stuff. They don't want to fight their whole life to just get that $8 an hour on the floor manufacturing job. People don't like doing that work. I feel like the Republicans and the Democrats continue to talk about bringing manufacturing jobs back to America, and that's miserable work, man. People need to talk more about how miserable that work is when it's non-union, when people are being exploited like that.
Gotcha.
Well, how did people get so? I mean, the unions have been decimated. The teachers' union is disrespected. Nobody respects the teachers' union and hasn't for 20 years or more. How did people just get, the con job? I mean, look, Reagan said, screw the air traffic control guys. I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you? We're going to fire them all? I mean, are you serious? But unions just got tossed. And look, half of the union's problem is that they discriminated against for a long time. That was almost a mob situation, the way they operated. But they're definitely better than non-union jobs. And folks in the unions were negotiating their salary increases away just so they could get some decent health care. It's ridiculous. They should have never had to make that compromise. I mean, GM is too stupid to realize that economic small cars are the way to go and just let their prohibitive favoritism in the car industry just slide because everybody at the top's taking all their money. Workers are getting screwed. And Toyota's like, no problem. We got it. It's just like
South Carolina, a big car manufacturing state. They all go there to manufacture cars.
BMW, yeah, sure. Yeah. They're all there. And nobody's unionized. And those guys are, I worked in the car manufacturing in a plant, at a Ford plant before it closed for 8 months. It's the only job my father ever respected that I had. He could care less about carrying a briefcase and wearing a suit. He's like, "Oh, you worked in a Ford plant?" But man, those jobs are hard.
They're hard. They're hard. That's hard work.
Well, do tell now. When one of the candidates, Andrew Yang, the guaranteed income, universal
basic income.
What were your thoughts?
It's coming. That's coming. That's inevitable. That's got to be inevitable. And a lot of people don't like to admit it, but I think that is ultimately where the country's going to have to go. There's just simply not enough things for people to do to in a capitalist system like we've got, like productive things that they can do that make sense. This is a service industry, country. People, work at retail. Retail's dying. Dying. All these industries where someone has to stand there and do something, those things aren't going to be there in 30, 40 years. We really need to start thinking about.
And not only that, a lot of the so-called middle office jobs, those are artificial intelligence is taking them too. Yeah. You don't need, the accounting, all that stuff can be done by programs and computers. You don't.
And we saw that stimulus check. We all saw that stimulus check hit. All right. They said it. They said stimulus check. 3 weeks later, 1,200, 1,000, 800, whatever, appeared in people's bank accounts. A lot of people, for the first time in their lives, realize how easy it is for the government to just create money and put it in your account. That is the system we've designed. The government they're borrowing in a sense, but that is just money they printed and decided to give to you. And once people start realizing how easy it is for the government to do that, UBI becomes more and more realistic. And I think that's one of the reasons that Republicans do not want to pass stimulus bills that continually pay people every month, because people realize that they can just get their government to do that. They will continue to have their government do that. But the government could do this easily. The IRS could put money
out for corporations. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, the farms, like you mentioned earlier, Curtis, those farm subsidies are our money. I mean, that's just, Trump, like, I screwed up with the Chinese tariff. Here's a couple of billion, hopefully. And they're not happy about it because they still got screwed out of business. I mean, and all his lies about, that nonsense, when he was in the midst of the impeachment and he had that phony signing celebration with some janitor from China who came over and sat there at the desk and like he was signing something. He's like, yes, intellectual. He didn't talk about intellectual property at all. I mean, that was that had nothing to do with anything. It was just something for a distraction from impeachment. And people are sitting there in Fox watching like, wow, he's really making a difference. It's like, come on.
So, gentlemen, we're in the final wind down stages.
Is this a sports segment?
We're gonna have to save that with Matt Damon for the next show. Sorry, we're running out of time. But some final words that each one of you would like to say about where we are.
Yeah.
I my final words are: I want us to celebrate this obvious victory, but immediately pivot to holding this administration accountable. Like you can't just like exist as a non-Trump. You have to exist as a progressive force for good in your own right. So that's what I want. Like to take the day, enjoy this, get drunk, hold the Biden administration accountable when they take office.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Damian.
Oh man, I don't even know. I'm so brain dead from this week. I advise people. Here's what I'm advising people because I'm doing it myself. I am taking a break from Twitter, from the news, from MSNBC. Archer doesn't believe I can do it, but I am unplugged.
I'll see you soon, bro.
I'm unplugged. Trump has lived rent free up here in my head for 4 years now. I'm going to take some time for myself. I'm coming for the Biden. I got things locked up in my head ready for Biden. I'm going to come for him way into the future. I'm taking some time to just focus on me. I don't care about politics anymore. I feel like everyone take time to just be with your family. It's, the holidays are coming up. Just be like with your family. Don't worry about it. It's going to work out. Yeah, that's my advice is to just unplug for a little bit.
Beautiful, beautiful. Glenn, do tell.
I mean, unfortunately, we don't have time to pat ourselves on the back. We have to get Georgia done. Anybody who ever lived in Georgia, move back home, register, and vote. We don't have a moment to lose as far as turning that crowd out in Georgia. Definitely hold Biden accountable, but I mean, if we don't put abolishing this Electoral College on the table, if we don't get campaign finance reform on the table, obviously COVID and the economy are critical. And yeah, we're more than a service economy, though. Good ideas. This is an information technology economy as well. Folks creating content. What you guys are doing. People have to find their way, but we've got to get rid of this college student loan anchor around people's necks. There's just got to be more opportunity for folks.
It's so heavy.
Yeah.
So,
I don't even look at my bill anymore. I don't look at my statement. I don't even look at it. I don't even.
Solar, go solar. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, Night Watchman. You want to take us home?
Well, yeah, just to echo what they said, we have to get back on defense, obviously. So we got to take a pause and just, capture the moment. Stay focused on making it to the inauguration in one piece and making sure that everything that's promised is delivered. And then we have to support Joe Biden in putting out the fires because his immediate focus has to be on the COVID pandemic, which is still raging, and a federal response to it so we can actually get back to a functional country. He's got to focus
help from the Republicans.
Yeah, this is my. You had your time. Let me get my reclaiming my time.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm speaking.
Yeah. And the economy, obviously, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So I think there is going to be time to hold Joe Biden's feet to the fire. I agree with our younger, more progressive. I'm not even sure they're more progressive than I am. I will say that I voted for Joe Biden on the Working Family Party's line. I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. They need the pressure. Yeah, I'm a registered Democrat, but they need the pressure, and it's enough of the BS. It's time for us. Let's take the gloves off. Let's get to work, and we can work effectively with some people, and the folks we can't. We know exactly who they are. We know who not to invite to the barbecue anymore. So
yes.
So
Daniel Cameron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God! Don't say that name.
Okay.
The last word goes to you, DJ LeRoy.
Well, now this has just been an incredible show, like I said, I said from the onset, thanking DJ Propaganda for talking his father off a cliff. It was great. I'm happy to actually see the outcome that we had on Saturday. And so you know what, guys, I'm glad that you guys, James, Damian, you guys are, as they say, the future and the progressive, and we need to hold their feet to the fire in these 4 years. Absolutely. But Glenn, Georgia, so very important. So very important.
We need it.
Bless
We
those
need
low
it.
Yes, we need it. Or else there will be inertia. So no inertia for 4 years. Let's get her done. All right. Guys,
Soul Lounge
thank you.
Primetime, WHCR 90.3 FM, 7 p.m. live on WHCR and 8 p.m. premiering on our YouTube. Like and subscribe. Love us. Share us. And show up next Monday. We'll be back again with more. And we'll be talking about cannabis in New York State soon. So that'll be the next one.